Afternoon, everyone. It's the school holidays, so things are a little bit quieter. So I get to make some videos for you guys to help you liberate your minds. So today we're going to talk about victim mentality, right? And what's actually going on there when people are doing that. So I don't know if you remember, like quite a while ago during lockdown and then sort of years after that, there were a lot of breakups happening. And it was usually because, and this was just a trend, not the definite, this is all it was, but a lot of women were using that time to work on themselves, right? They suddenly had a lot of time on their hands. They kind of went in, they noticed, they took an inventory of their life and sort of thought, right, what are some things I need to change? And the other thing that happened was people got to spend a lot of time with each other they wouldn't normally have had. And what happened was holes, and people have grown apart, and different pressures suddenly meant that because there was no escape, no distractions, no busyness, some relationships started to break down. And what happened was the women tended to be doing the work on themselves, and a lot of them were coming to me initially because they wanted to sort out their stuff, and once they sort their stuff out, they decided they didn't want to be in the relationship they were in anymore. So whether they got broken up or they had a divorce or whatever it was, and that's not me telling anybody to get divorced. That is basically what happens sometimes when you take all of your unconscious patterns and programmings and traumas out of the way, and then you have another look at your life. And because you suddenly got very high self-esteem and a lot of respect for yourself, and you're very in touch with what your values are, which is this bringing me joy? Is this bringing me peace? Or whatever your value is. And you look at everything in your life, whether it be your job, your relationship, your friendships, whatever it might be. And you suddenly go, this does not resonate. This is not living in line with my values. And because I'm no longer being triggered by things or kind of stuck in my head, and I can just be here present and see this consciously with my own eyes, I must take action because my priority now is me. And that's what tends to happen when you get to the end of a therapy program. Instead of people pleasing for everybody else and trying to be what everybody else needs you to be, because you've got limiting beliefs and very much about yourself, suddenly you're solid. And now you're living life based on, well, what do I want? What makes me feel happy? What is it that I want to spend my time and energy investing in? And if that relationship is not any of those things, then it can be, I need to get out, right? So I had the wave of women doing all of that and leaving the relationships. And now I'm having the wave of men that are trying to kind of pick up the pieces, and they're kind of like, what happened? Now, the reason I bring this up is because there are two kinds of people in this world, and those are the victims and the victors, right? The people that tend to be quite good at picking themselves up and putting things into perspective. They are the ones that kind of look at a problem or a situation that has arisen, kind of dissociated or in a way that's kind of impartial or detached enough for them to be able to assess what happened here. What was my part to play in this? What can I learn from this? What needs to change? Is this something that I've caused? Is this something that I need to rectify now so I'm not bringing this into the next relationship with me? And it can obviously help to have a coach or somebody with you who is able to ask questions and to tease out the details, and of course to sort out the unconscious patterns that may well have contributed, not consciously, unconsciously, to pushing the other person away. So that's one, the victor, but the victims tend to be the ones that deflect all blame and start to project and start to see themselves as a victim. They did this to me. The world. So what are these two things? Let's really break this down so you can get a really clear understanding of it. And look, I'm not saying that when someone breaks up with you or a major life event happens, that you aren't allowed to feel sorry for yourself or grieve or be upset or have perfectly normal reactions to those things. What I'm saying is, once the dust settles and you've managed to kind of accept, even if you're not happy about it, get to some point of, well, it has happened, right? And I'm not happy about it. I wish it hadn't happened, but it has. And here I am. Once you get to that stage, hopefully this is when you start to pull yourself out of it with the kinds of things that you're saying and doing and thinking to yourself, right? Now, a victor in those situations, I've already discussed. They will start to ask themselves questions so that they can get to the bottom of what was really happening in a factual way and then make the necessary changes. Whereas victims tend to be not owning it, not to say that it's all their fault, right? It takes two to tango. It takes two to make these things going on. However, when you're a victim, you tend to completely shun any kind of responsibility. And you will have met some of these people, and they will be the kind of people that will go from job to job saying, oh, everywhere I go, I seem to get a terrible, terrible boss, or the people are all horrible people, or, everyone's really mean to me, or whatever it is. Or they'll say things like, I'm unlucky, or they'll say things like, or they'll go from one relationship to the next relationship. And they say, I keep choosing people that are unhealthy for me, or that are really mean to me, and all the rest of it. Now, not to say that some of those people might be what they're saying they are, but what you have to, if you can see that this is a pattern and it keeps happening again and again and again, no matter where you go, what country you live in, no matter what different type of person you choose, or job or vocation, if the same thing keeps happening, you have to start looking at what is the consistent thing. The factor here is me, right? But a lot of these people won't do that. They will blame anything and everything and project it until they kind of get a sense of, right, I have to just keep searching, the right one will come next. And of course, the same thing happens again and again. So what are these things? It's really, are you living at cause or effect, right? Is the world happening to you and it's out of your control and it's everyone else's fault and you're the victim here? Or are you living at cause, which means that you understand that, yes, those things may very well be happening, but I have absolute control, not over those things, but how I interpret it, what I do about it, what I choose to believe about it, and how I'm going to respond and what I'm telling myself. Right? Because if someone, unless they are physically coming at you, then every time you feel hurt or attacked, or you kind of get into that downward spiral because about how horrible people are being to you, that's on you. Which is a strange thing to say, but actually, why is that? Because when someone is saying something to you, that doesn't have to affect your emotional state. The only time it does that generally is if you already have a limiting belief, or you on some level have a wound, or in some level agree or believe what that person is saying about you or to you. So if I said something to you like, you're all pink with polka dot spots, you look ridiculous, you'd laugh at me and say, what are you talking about? And look at yourself in that. But if I say something to you like you're a loser, right? And you already have low self-esteem and a belief that in some way you're not good enough, you will then turn on yourself and it will push that button and you will start to then feel the feeling that you're very familiar with, because it's not what the person has said to you, it's what you already believe, and that wound has just been activated, and then you go down into that downward spiral. However, if you take responsibility for your patterns, your triggers, your wounds, your beliefs, your, what traumas, whatever it might be, and you go and sort those things out, then the very same people might say the very same things, but it will not bother you, because it's nonsense, right? It's just hot air. It's just words. So it's about time to own what's going on and take responsibility for your part in things. And do you know what? A lot of the men that I've been working with have said this terrible incident, this horrific thing that has completely blindsided me, has been the biggest gift that I could have received. Because even though I'm heartbroken about the loss of that partner or whatever it might be, your job, that person, whatever it could be, it's an opportunity. It's woken me up. It's made me take a long, hard look. So that I've gone inside, I've worked on all of these things so that I am going to become a better person because of it. And if this had not happened, I would have just carried on being and doing the same unconscious, unhealthy patterns I've always done. And even if that person had broken up with me, I would take these things into the next relationship, the next job, the next thing, and I would have just gone and done the same thing again. And it would have just been a terrible cycle to kind of repeat. So it's all about, are you living at cause or effect? You cannot control the outside world, but you have absolutely control on what you're thinking, what you're feeling, because obviously the thoughts drive the feelings, and then what you do, taking action, taking responsibility for your part in things, and then going to sort it out so that you can then walk away with your head held high. Whether you've done everything that you can in a relationship and the other person won't change because they are playing the victim like there's nothing wrong with me, this is all you're making a fuss about it, all of the spiel. And you can then say, right, I've done my best, I've been honest, I've done my work, I've explained the situation to them, I've kind of given them an ultimatum, I've said, I want to make this work, I will put all the energy and effort into this. But if they're not prepared to take ownership or responsibility for their part, their unconscious patterns, their wounds, unfortunately, it seems to be men that do that more, then you can walk away from the relationship with your head held high, knowing that you did everything you could before you had to make the decision to leave that relationship. And yes, that may hurt the other person, but you did everything you could to resolve that. Or vice versa, that person left you, you can't get them back, they've made their decision, that decision's made, they're not coming back, but you can now look honestly and say, they weren't perfect, but what was my part to play? Why did they leave? And you may even have the bravery to go and ask them, can you tell me what it was that has created this situation so that I can go away and work on myself? And you'll get a lot more respect for that. So, cause and effect. What are you living at? Have a look at your own life. And if you need some assistance to get to the bottom of those unconscious programs, patterns, and traumas, then get in touch. Have a great day.